That's why.
Oh my gosh, somebody might be able to trace me. No, I'm kidding.
My first phone was the Nokia. We're on the phone right now with Arknolia Strokelbean. He is a badass producer of the show, $25 tier, and he's been chasing me for about a month or two. I don't even know. It's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
He's poor guy's been chasing me like crazy. A lot of times it's I think I've gotten only lucky with the other people, because with a lot of people it's been like, hey, what's up? Want to do the podcast now? And I'm like, all right. And then it just happens to be I'm there. But like with you, you've had to chase me forever. It was crazy. And
well, my times are it's all health related.
Right.
But we can get into that. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I can't match Jesse and Jake, but I got my own little set.
Yeah, health stuff is I mean, I've always known about the health, well, I know you want to talk about JB, but I've always seen the health stuff firsthand, because when my dad had diabetes, we'd get the shipments of all the insulin and all that type of stuff, and I would run it up, and I knew how to hook it into the machine, the dialysis and everything else. So yeah, I was like pretty I was pretty good at knowing all about that. Plus also going to his hospital visits, and what happened is you'd see all the other people that were sick with whatever they were sick with. So pretty early on, I was pretty aware of, struggles of health and people having to take care of themselves because of a disease or a sickness or whatever pretty early on, I think. But
yeah, you got indoctrinated early, it sounds like.
Yeah.
But the first thing I want to do is, JB, if you happen to hear this, hope he does, I want to apologize because I jumped all over you for your Pink Floyd comment, because you used the word overrated, and I don't think that's the word you meant, because your later explanation when I called you out on it made sense, and I agree with actually what you said, that there are a lot of people floating around that they wear their little Pink Floyd shirts, and you want to talk to them about it, and they're like, they can't even tell you 3 songs. It's like, what?
I know what you mean. Then he means oversaturated. Then it's just like
basically he really meant that. He didn't mean overrated in the sense that they're overrated. I mean, he even mentioned Queen's overrated, and I don't think they're overrated. I like them too. Most of my music tastes go for the 60s and 70s, but I like some of the new stuff too.
Yeah, but you don't see a lot. I don't think I see as many people wearing Queen stuff as Pink Floyd. It's like so many people wear the Dark Side of the Moon shirt, especially. Like that's like an iconic thing people wear, and they don't even know.
They like that prison thing, It's
yeah.
Like, oh, this is cool. And they put that on, and you ask them about it, and it's like, that was an album? Yeah, it was.
That's funny.
It was probably one of the most iconic albums of all time, but okay.
I mean, even
if you don't like them, you don't like them.
Even our age is like the age that like we had to sort of rediscover Pink Floyd, because anybody older would say like, oh, you guys know Pink Floyd, you know what I mean? Like I see people when I see kids who are like 13 now with like Metallica or Korn shirts or something, and I'm like, oh, that's so weird. Like I was their age and I was wearing those shirts, and now they're wearing those shirts still. Like that's it's crazy.
Well, see, I go back on Pink Floyd even to their first 3 or 4 albums with Syd Barrett.
Yeah, right.
I knew that stuff real well too.
Yeah, Syd Barrett. He left.
Shame what happened to him, but
yeah, well, that was. I remember that was my first. One of my girlfriends a long time ago, she bought me that documentary on him that came out, because I was talking about him and how he left the band, and she got me that.
Yeah, I read the book Saucer Full of Secrets. I went into that pretty deeply. That was a good book, by the way.
Wow, yeah,
I might still have it floating around somewhere.
Yeah, I mean,
it pretty much talked about him early and what all happened and what went on, and it's an interesting read.
It's crazy because people don't know. I didn't know until later that I think he named the band, and then he's like the original member, and he named the band.
Yeah, he was one of the original 4.
Yeah, he's like the whole driving beginning of the band, and I didn't know that until I was.
Gilmore actually replaced him.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gilmore actually was the one that replaced him.
That's crazy. It was.
But yeah, he was in the early album, Saucer Full of Secrets, and the name of the other one escapes me right now. But that was a good album. Those are both good albums.
Well, we'll yell at Bailey anyway later, but that's what me and Leah have in common is Pink Floyd so much, because me and her both really like Pink Floyd. We have all this stuff and common knowledge with them, and so that's the one thing that we because I don't like as much of the older stuff, of some stuff from back then, and so that's the one thing that we do both like. I mean, like, I like Led Zeppelin and I like those, you know, but I really like Pink Floyd. I don't know a lot about Led Zeppelin, you know.
Yeah, I do too, but I don't place them in my top 5. I mean, I like them, but I don't put them in my top 5.
Yeah, I like them.
And if you were to ask me in my top 5, I honestly couldn't tell you right now.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd would be one of them, but yeah, the others I'd have to kind of think about. But
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm more modern.
Fun stuff.
Yeah.
You're talking to someone that actually, I was at work one day and I'm typing away on my keyboard and my head started kind of floating a little bit. Next thing I knew, I was awake in a hospital in the emergency room with a doctor patting me on the arm and saying, "You're going to be all right now. You're going to be all right now. You were clinically dead for 10 minutes. I'm going, what?
Wow. What the hell?
What do you mean? My heart just quit. No, they didn't even find out why, but it just quit. And they had to revive me at work. I went through all the, well, that was the other thing. When I got back to work a couple of weeks, obviously, my boss says, "Do you want to hear what happened?" I said, "Sure." And he was like, "You do?" "Well, yeah. What's it going to do to me?" He said, "Well, you just went out and they ran over there and this one girl, I won't mention names, I'll try to keep names out, gave you CPR, pounded on your chest and the whole CPR bit. And when the EMTs came, they hit you with the defibrillators, the
Jeez.
clear. And I remember when I woke up in the hospital, I'm going, why the hell does my chest hurt so bad? This is why. And man, it was just a weird experience. First time I went to the heart doctor, he looked at me and he says, "You know how lucky you are?" I'm sitting there going, after what I went through, I'm lucky. But at any rate, he says, 95% of the people that went through what you went through don't survive. And I'm going, oh, I guess I am lucky. And keep in mind, this is over 4 years ago. And he said, not only that, of the ones that do survive, a lot of them suffer brain damage. And you obviously don't have that. And I'm thinking to myself, jury's kind of out on that one right now. But I honestly didn't suffer brain damage. But that was a unique experience.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
You because I would have thought, they didn't say they said like you didn't have a heart attack, you didn't have some kind of embolism, you just had some kind of shutdown.
My heart just quit working.
Wow.
I mean, I have a. Well, that's another story. They put a pacemaker and defibrillator in me, and 2 years later, it developed an infection. They had to pull it out and put a defibrillator in a different place in me. So now I've got a defibrillator in me.
Wow.
Or on me or whatever. So if I'm sitting there and go, ouch, what was that? Well, it's probably my defibrillator.
Wow. So that's...
but it hasn't gone off yet, luckily.
Yeah, because all that stuff is much better than it used to be. That's the type of stuff they would have put in my dad probably, but they didn't have some of that in 1992.
Well, to be honest, with all the technology, and if I hadn't been at work when it happened, I wouldn't be here talking to you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, anywhere else.
I mean, so in a sense, I guess I was a lucky guy. Really weird.
Yeah, if you're going to go down, I mean, in front of a bunch of people at work would be one of the better places. People are going to call the police, or the ambulance, somebody's going to know CPR.
Well, that's essentially what happened. It was, like I said, it was a very lucky experience for me, I suppose. Yeah, when I went to the rehab center for all of that, the lady said, "You're the miracle man." And I said, "Huh?" Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. You know,
Are you still at that
it was
same?
funny because when I was in the hospital, one of the nurses came in and says, "Do you feel okay?" I said, "Yeah." "Do you have a headache?" "No." "Do you feel dizzy?" "No." She said, "Well, we're going to have to do a transfusion because your blood count's 5." And I'm sitting there and I'm going at her. I looked at her and said, "What does that mean?" "You're beyond anemic." And I'm
Wow.
like, okay. Some of the people in your show will know what that means. I didn't. I'm still not sure, but it's like a hemoglobin count. Jesse and Jake probably
Well,
know what that means.
that's your red blood cell count. Were you not?
Yeah, it was 5,
Oh my
which they were
God.
like, "You need a transfusion," and they gave me like 3 units, I think it was.
That that had to have something to do with it, right? Is that what they said? Did they say that had something to do with it?
Well, actually, this was during the defibrillator part, where they replaced the defibrillator 2 years later.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, because
Yeah,
that's really, you must have been tired as hell at that time then.
it really was. As a matter of fact, I kind of went to the hospital because I was kind of like, well, I fell down in my apartment, and luckily I was near my phone, and I had to call the fire department because most people don't know that the fire department will actually come help you. And the guy just looks at me and says, "You need to go to the hospital." I said, "No, I'll be all right." And then I thought about it for a minute and said, "You know what? Yeah, I do."
Yeah.
And luckily I did then too. So I've been lucky, well, actually about 5 times, because I fell down once at home. And when they come and got me, they had to carry me in the hospital. They said, "Your potassium count's 9.5." And I'm sitting there going, "Okay, what does that mean?" And they said, "Well, actually what that means is you're at the lethal level. You should be dead." I'm going, okay, does this mean I got to quit eating potatoes? You know, what's the deal there?
Did
And
they
I spent about 3 days in the hospital while they brought that back down so I could walk out.
did they
You know, so
retest your blood after you get the transfusion? Because it sounds like that blood was useless. Like you'd been so bad that it wasn't even producing blood cells or white blood cells, red blood cells.
they got me on iron, and obviously in dialysis they check it. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I mentioned I'm on dialysis.
Yeah. Iron,
They
yeah.
check it every time, and I'm staying okay.
Okay,
But
yeah.
yeah, I'm on iron.
I was anemic twice. That's why I know about that.
Not fun.
No, we thought I had what is it? Oh God, what's the thing you get for like a lot of high school kids get it, but it's can't remember what it was. People thought I had it. It was the I don't know, but anyway, it wasn't that, and I wish I could remember what it was, but it ended up being anemia, and I was like, oh yeah, you're anemic. You need some,
Yeah, that one's not too bad. They can do something about that.
yeah, I took blood, I took iron pills, and I was better after a little while. And the white blood cell count rose, the red blood cells obviously. But you can take too much iron though. You got to be careful with that. So you take too
Well,
much and
that's the thing with potassium too. I mean, there are certain chemicals that you can have too much in your system, and they'll screw you up worse. And I mean, the thing I got to watch now is phosphorus. You ever hear that one?
yeah, phosphorus, yeah.
I got to watch that one now because it runs a little bit high sometimes. And my
Yes.
iron pills are also a phosphorus reducing pill. I used to have a regular pharmacy, but I'm down to not a lot of pills. In fact, I take vitamin A, B, and C. No, A, B, D.
I wonder if
I don't think.
so are you still working at that same place that you worked at when that happened?
Oh no, because of dialysis, I'm not working anywhere. I'm living
Yeah.
on Social Security.
I was like, damn, I was gonna say, you're Jesus, you gotta go to work on dialysis right now? Like that's the worst. How do you do
No,
that?
I actually worked for 2 more years after the heart thing, but I didn't go on dialysis till last year.
Right.
Because again, I'm old,
How old are you?
68.
So you're my mother's age. You're exactly my mother's age.
Yeah, something like that. I guess I don't know
Yeah.
how. Well, obviously I didn't know how old your mother is, but I know now.
Yeah, she's 68, so she was born probably, she's in March of, what, 51 or? I forget.
I'm 50. I
You're
mean,
50.
1950.
So she's probably, so
She's a year younger than me.
She's gonna turn 69 in March.
Yeah, see, I'll do it in November.
Okay. Yeah, well, you're around the same, you know, baby boomer.
Sixth. Oh, no, now someone's going to find out who I am. Really? No. I mean, there's a lot of people born on the 6th of November.
So when you found, would you find my show because of the wrestling review at some point?
Yeah, and ironically, Kenny Bolin. Well, I didn't find it because of him. I was listening to one of his podcasts when he was railing about you. Said, you know what? I need to go check this out. I checked it out. I'm like, hey, this is entertaining. And so I just I pretty much listen to everything you do.
That's pretty funny. That's hilarious that you came from Kenny Bolin when he was ranting about me or something.
Yeah, the way he said it and the way he was going on about it, I was like, what? I need to look into this. Because I'm one of those people that have the mind that I'll find things out for myself. I won't listen to what somebody else says.
Right, yeah, you'll go check it out. I mean, even I know that too when I bring up people or if I mention something, I'm like, well, they're going to go look them up. So we're promoting them. So usually,
yeah, actually, ironically, Kenny Bolin promoted you without promoting you.
Right.
How weird is that?
I think Cornette did that too because I had a lot of people come over from Cornette, and I said, wow.
I quit listening to that guy because he just irritates me. I mean, I agree with the views on wrestling.
Yeah.
But when he gets into his other stuff, it's like, come on, give it a rest. Ranting and raving to the point of that I almost picture him sitting there drooling and spitting as he's talking. Like, you know, slow down. Well, don't worry about it.
The interesting thing about him is, the weird thing about Cornette is, like, you know, I can go off on rants too, but if I see the person, it's not real. But when I see, I've seen Cornette.
Your rants are fun, and you don't get, like, drooling mad. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes, but
he
means it,
yeah,
though.
But it's a different kind of drooling mad.
He does mean it, though. If you see him and, like, he will, if he's mad at somebody, like, you think it's a joke, and then you see him and he's still mad. So you don't, it's very strange with him with that. But,
yeah, I saw that one thing where he confronted that guy in that show, Santino or whatever his name is.
Santino, yeah.
I saw that and I was like, holy cow. That's not a guy I ever want mad at me.
Yeah, it was so weird because that's what you got mad at me for, because I tweeted him twice to come on the show or whatever, and I guess that's what set him off. It was weird.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. But well, I'm in Texas, but a lot of the wrestling I grew up with, I remember when I was really a kid.
We near the
we'd go visit
Sportatorium.
My grandfather. And he'd sit and watch it, and it was fun watching him because he believed it was real.
Right.
I mean, no doubt about it in his mind. And he'd sit there and he'd get so mad at the heel, and it was cool watching. But I remember I watched a lot of, when you watch the wrestling like that up till the 80s, 90s, whatever, it's so different from what you see now that it's not even funny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is.
I used to watch guys like Bearcat Wright. That guy was good. And another guy by the name of Brute Bernard, that George Animal Steel, Brute Bernard was his prototype. Brute Bernard was almost exactly like that. Just kind of a bald, crazy, demented guy. You know, he made guttural sounds and he walked funny. And you need to look up some of these videos. It's fun to watch, actually.
Yeah. No, a lot of the older stuff is really cool. When I was at a wrestling school, actually the one here that, Triple H went to and everybody, Killer Kowalski ran the school. They had just a library of stuff that I'd never seen before. Some I'd never heard before.
There's a lot of stuff I remember that apparently is not on tape because I can't find it. Because I remember one match between a guy by the name of Joe Scarpa You kind of later knew him as G Straight Strongbow.
Mm-hmm.
That he was wrestling another guy by the name of Mike PRODUCERS. They had a 2 out of 3 fall match, and I'd never seen this before. But Scarpa had a sleeper hold, which that's another hold. Well, a coquina clutch is close, I suppose.
Yeah.
But he put this guy out in one of either the first or second fall, I don't remember which. And the guy's down. The referee goes over to him. Okay, you can wake him up now. And he refused. Well, not going to do it. That's the referee. Okay, let's start the next fall. Started the next fall. The guy just walked over, pinned him, and won the match. Then he woke him up. And the guy gets up and says, oh okay, I'm ready to go for the next fall. And says, nope, no next fall. He took them both. The guy said, what? That's the strangest thing I ever saw, but it was really kind of cool.
I got to check that out. Did you ever get
I don't think that's online anywhere. It's just something I remember.
Oh man, yeah, that'd be funny. Well, maybe that's why, but it was
it was on TV, but that was back in the day, 60s, 70s, somewhere in that range.
Did you ever get to the Sportatorium?
No, I sure wanted to.
Mm.
Yeah, I got to see, well, on TV, I got to see the whole Von Erich thing. I even saw Fritz on TV a lot.
Yeah.
Got to see him when he was, and that's another hole that's missing, the Iron Claw.
Oh yeah, that was the we knew about that when I was little, yeah, because it was my dad would do that.
Yeah, all the Von Erichs knew it. Yeah, it's a shame about that whole family. David was good. He would have been a superstar, but he died way too young.
It's just amazing what they could do back then, where you could just do something like a punch even, or just choking a guy on a rope and looking at the crowd and the place would just explode. And then you look at it now.
Yeah, it was unreal.
And to get that kind of reaction now would have to be like some kind of weird debut or like a crazy big move off a ladder somewhere. It's just crazy, the type of way that you could work a crowd. I don't even think wrestlers, especially in the WWE now, I don't really think most of the time they really can even work the crowd at all. There's nothing they can do.
They know how to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think part of that is they don't know how to do it, but also the style and now the way the fans are. Now everybody just knows it's all at work anyway, so you have to do different things to make them excited about stuff because you just can't work them like you could then.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I kind of realized it, but it was still fun to watch.
Yeah.
But, man, I mean, I saw, there's another guy by the name of the Spoiler that used the Iron Claw that wrestled here for a while. That big guy wore a mask, and he did that top rope walk thing that, didn't the Undertaker do
Undertaker does, yeah. He did it, yeah. He walked across the ropes.
Yeah, it's kind of weird watching this 6 foot whatever guy get on the top rope and just walk it, and you're like, how the heck are you doing that? But,
yeah, that's
man,
especially then when the ropes are probably looser too, so like that's much harder.
Oh, they definitely were, yeah. But it's funny because, like I said, I saw a lot of the Texas wrestling, but I also saw a little bit out of the Mid-South and Crockett and all those people, and some Memphis. But yeah, I remember seeing the debut of a team known as the Freedom Fighters that featured a couple of guys by the name of Jim Hellwig and Steve Borden.
Wow, that's the.
You must be familiar with them.
I got Sting and Ultimate Warrior for the people that don't know that.
Yeah, and it's funny because they later became the Blade Runners.
Yeah,
and Eddie Gilbert managed them for a while, and then Sting got his name then, but Ultimate Warrior. Do you remember what they called him?
The Dingo Warrior.
No, Rock.
No, I don't remember. What was it called?
When they were part of the Blade Runners.
Oh.
And Sting stayed where he was, and, well, he stayed Sting. And Rock went to Texas and became the Dingo Warrior. You were right about that. Wrestled here for a couple of years, and then went on to become the Ultimate Warrior.
What do you
And he was just as goofy back here as he was there.
well, he must have been even worse then, because he would have been crazier then, because he really just got into it right away there. He didn't train long, from what I thought I understood.
No, he didn't really, from what it looks like. You can find some of the freedom fighter stuff on YouTube. I have found some of that. And it's interesting because they had a feud where they turned heel on, I forget the name of the guy. But at any rate, the first statement he made is about you boys really aren't, you haven't established yourself. You haven't trained well. All you know how to do is pull down your pants and stick them steroids in your butt. And they're going, whoa. You know, this is before everything else become the thing. Yeah. But it was interesting to hear him make that remark. And another guy I saw debut in Texas was a guy by the name of Steve Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Not Dr. Death.
Steve Austin, Steve Williams.
Yeah. And he wrestled here for a couple of years. He was in a feud with Chris Adams. And then he moved on to Mid-South Crockett, one of those at any rate. Because Steve Williams was already there, they changed him to, like you said, Steve Austin.
I know Steve Austin, he loved watching the Sportatorium stuff. He saw the Von Erichs all the time, from what I remember when he used to talk about that.
Yeah, actually the Von Erichs weren't bad. You know, they had their troubles and stuff. Except for Mike. If you ever see Mike, you're wondering, oh, it must have been the name. Because that's got to be the worst promoter, worst promotions I've ever seen in my life. And he can't wrestle. He got there on his name, which might be some of the reason that he had the problems he had. The others had natural talent. Kevin's the only one of that bunch that's still alive.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just the curse of the Von Erichs is real. It's crazy.
And Kevin actually is the only guy I ever seen at that time that wrestled barefoot.
Really? Like, yeah, no, I guess you're right. I guess the first guy I ever saw wrestle barefoot because of my age was Jimmy Snuka, but you're right, yeah. I've never, other than them, I couldn't name, I mean, you know, Haku and stuff like that in the late 80s, but I don't know anybody before that. I don't think I ever saw anybody or noticed who wrestled barefoot.
Well, the story I heard was the reason he did that is he went to the wrestling match one night to put his boots on. Somebody had hit him on it. And he didn't find him in time, so he just went out there barefoot. He liked it and stuck with it. So that was kind of weird.
That's kind of funny, yeah. He's like, oh, I like it barefoot. I would have broke my ankle barefoot.
I could have never done it.
Yeah, barefoot would just, not with my left ankle now, but I'd have to tape the hell out of that. Anybody, anybody, I'm trying to think of anybody else who, like, I ever saw barefoot, but.
I can't think of anybody else from that period of time anyway.
They said it never would. A lot of people used to complain about it because they thought it was stupid because you just step on the guy's foot. So there was probably controversy there a little bit about him being barefoot.
Nobody ever really said much about it, I guess, because he was a Von Erich.
Yeah. Yeah, because I can even remember years ago, people mentioning that about, even Jimmy Superfly, but also, and there was an indie guy not that long ago that was doing it, and, people said stuff. I mean, well, people have been doing it for years, and then there's the new indie guy that I was talking about the other day who keeps his hand in his pockets or whatever, and I was...
yeah, I've seen some videos on that guy, and it's like, you got to be kidding me.
I'd just punch him in the face while he's got his hand in his pockets.
That guy would be so easy to beat, I could do it.
Yeah.
And I'm basically kind of handicapped with wheelchair bound and all that stuff. Yeah, and I could probably beat him. That's
the thing. Like, yeah, it's I can't even imagine that back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Somebody would...
Oh, no, that had never happened.
Yeah, the guy in the ring with him would have beat the hell out of him for real. He would have said, oh, yeah? You think that's funny? I'm going to hurt you now. But the crowds are just different. But have you been to any? I don't know if you're able to go out now, but I mean, obviously it's tough for you to get out now. But I don't know if you're closer to. Are you close to a promotion somewhere that you can see? Because there's still quite a few in Dallas.
The ironic thing is, all the time I followed it, I never went to an actual wrestling match anytime.
Ever?
Never.
Really?
Weird, huh?
That is
Been
weird.
to lots of baseball games, but never. I got some baseball stories, but we can get that another time, I guess.
That's
But,
really
yeah.
wild.
I mean, I saw some pretty neat stuff, I guess you might say, as I was growing up and later.
Yeah, I mean, that is so. I can't believe you haven't been to a show, and you all.
Yeah, I know it's kind of weird, but a lot of the times I lived in places, it was a pretty long haul.
It's just too far away. Yeah.
So it was kind of tough. I just remember I used to watch. We lived about 100 miles from the Dallas-Fort Worth area at the time, and we had an antenna, and I used to turn it towards the Dallas station so I could watch the wrestling. It used to come on 10 o'clock, I think, and it would. Somebody's sending me a text, but I'm not going to worry about that. But at any rate, I used to watch that for about 2 hours, something like that. They'd tape the shows in Fort Worth, but it was obviously the Dallas-Fort Worth promotion. And then I'd follow that with roller derby. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember when I was a kid, still they had roller derby would come on still, or roller jam or something like that.
Yeah, it was fun because it was like wrestling on wheels.
Yeah, it was, and they would do it after. I don't remember always the exact lineup, but when I was a kid, especially the late '80s, early '90s, they would have, roller jam or roller derby would come on after, WWE, or would come on after, Gladiators, and then roller jam. And I remember I always got stuck watching that. That would come on, and I'd see these girls or guys or whoever just beating the crap out of each other.
It was kind of like an addiction.
Yeah, it was like
you just go, why am I watching this? Because it's fun.
Yeah, you couldn't turn it off. You were like, oh, wrestling's over. But then you were like, what is this? And you just couldn't take your eyes off.
It was like a train wreck. Yeah,
yeah, it was like
I shouldn't be watching this, but I'm going to watch it.
It was kind of like a demolition derby almost. If I saw that on TV, I mean, I'd be like, I didn't think I was going to watch this, but I can't turn away from this.
Yeah, I know. It's the same way. And here it came on at midnight, and I still stayed up to 1 a.m. watching that stuff. And man, I mean, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, no, it would be. I remember that because when I was in New Hampshire, there was more rural. The only way I saw wrestling live was then. So I would see wrestling because they would have a fair or something like that, and WWE would send they send like the Brooklyn Brawler and Doink the Clown and maybe like Hacksaw Jim Duggan or somebody, and there'd be a bunch of local guys who would come out and wrestle, but then then they would have the main event would be like Brooklyn Brawler versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan or something, and you'd be like, oh, I know them, and then and it was at the fair, so you're at the fair, and you can just sit down and watch it, and it was happening, and it was promoted as WWF, so they would say WWF in the ring and everything, but it wasn't anybody really.
It was kind of like WWF light.
Yeah, it was like they just sent these 2 or 3 guys, and that was about it, and I don't even know what the point was, but it was seeing that wrestling live was the first time I ever saw it, probably in 1989 or something like that. So that was the first time I ever saw it, and then they just wrestled so much out here that because we obviously didn't get I didn't even know about Dallas or the Sportatorium or Jim Crockett.
Oh, wrestling was huge down here.
Yeah, like we didn't
during
even
that period of time.
I had no clue about any of that until about 1995. I had no idea.
Man, I tell you, the thing they did with the Von Erichs and the Freebirds, that was big down here.
Yeah.
I mean, the Freebirds, they were the ultimate heels. And I liked them.
Yeah.
I thought Michael P.S. Hayes was cool. I liked Terry Gordy and Buddy Roberts. They were fun to watch.
That was a huge feud. That was like, that literally is one of the biggest feuds of all time for a while. I mean, they must have ran that for what?
It ran for at least 2 years.
Yeah. That's amazing. And people still talk about. I mean, we have little local ones here that it's so weird. There's only about maybe 100 to 200 fans, but even the local promotion here, they run something and this guy was the champion for like 8 months and nobody could beat this guy, and finally one of the local guys, the top babyface, he beat him, and it felt like old time stuff. Like it to me, and only about 100 people, maybe 80, actually probably only about 60 people probably had followed the whole thing. Had been at all the indie shows the last year and had seen everything that happened. But the crowd was so loud, 180 people, only 180 people, but they were so loud for this victory and changing of the title because of something.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy. It was like, it felt like this old time thing, and it felt real. And and I was doing commentary, and I just remember thinking that, like, wow, this really feels like old time stuff.
Oh, that would have been the coolest thing about it.
Yeah, and I wish that I think a lot of it's on DVD even, but it's not all there. You had to be at all the shows. You had to witness this guy, this heel guy who had the title for 8 months, for over a year, just be on this run of just beating everybody, and you think this guy's going to win now, and now he loses again, or he cheats in this match, and it was just this huge payoff, but it was only a payoff for about 60 people in the world, and it was oh
man.
But that was fun to me. Like, that was funner than WWE and anything else I've been seeing at the time. And they were wrestling a more of a traditional style. These guys aren't really doing the flips everywhere and stuff. They were
Well, that's when it's cool. In fact, one of the best angles I remember seeing, I think it was Mid-South, but I'm not sure. Well, some time ago, I sent you the link to it, but it was when Ted DiBiase was supposed to have a match with Ric Flair for the championship, and Dick Murdoch showed up, interrupted him, busted him open, and they had to keep cutting to Bill Watts talking about, oh, he shouldn't be wrestling. He's cut pretty bad, and they don't think he should do it. All that stuff.
Yeah.
The whole total build-up. And he came out all his head all bandaged up, and they were talking about how courageous he was to do that, and wrestled Ric Flair. And Murdoch shows up again and does a brainbuster. Similar to a pile driver, but it's in the armpit.
Yeah. Brainbuster. Yeah, brainbuster, like a suplex, but on the head.
And he basically did it into the concrete and busted him open again. And I mean, it was kind of awesome to watch that whole play out, because they spent the whole show building that thing up, and it was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
I got to see it live.
That would be awesome.
But it's on YouTube. No, not when I say live, I mean TV, obviously.
Yeah, on TV.
But it's on YouTube.
I'll have to look that
I
up.
remember finding that one.
I'll have to look that up because that's really cool. I love Ted DiBiase too. I love the.
I liked him then. And to go on with something you do, Jake the Snake Roberts wrestled down here for a while, and I liked him then. He didn't have Damien.
Yeah.
But he wrestled here for a while. One of the most memorable things I remember about him, though, was in WWE when he let Damien loose and he bit Randy Savage.
Yeah.
I was like, holy cow.
I remember
that was cool.
I never forgot that. I think I was 7, and I that was one of those things that I saw, and I went, oh, my God, what the hell? As a 7-year-old, I was like, this is crazy, Well,
that's something every wrestling fan should see, and then they'll watch today's Raw and SmackDown and go, this isn't any good.
Because even then, that was they were aiming to be PG, and they did PG stuff better then than they do it now. For some reason, they were able to be whatever family friendly they wanted to be, with being a little dark and interesting at times, and they didn't need to do the stuff they do now. And so yeah, it's weird. I enjoyed that more, not just because I was a kid. It's more believable now when you watch it. When it's the wrestlers too. It's all about the wrestlers. It's Jake Roberts and Macho Man. you really believe what they're doing. Like, and if they did that angle now, whoever they did it with, it would, it wouldn't be as believable. And it's got something to do with the way that they overproduce things and with the way the wrestlers are too.
Yeah, I didn't watch a whole lot of WWF until it became the only game in town. Basically, well, I watched WCW for a while, and then they went funny.
Yeah.
But I haven't really watched much of anything in a long time.
What about did you watch any of the NXT stuff or?
No, I'm not on the network or any of that. So, although I really should get the old stuff. But
yeah.
No, I'm not in it. I mean, I can barely afford to live, much less do the WCW network.
Yeah, the WWE's only like I think
WWE network. Sorry.
I think it's still at I think it's still at 9, but it's just. I mean, thank God the pay-per-views aren't $60 a month. I mean, that's.
Well, you can take this personally, but I'd rather subscribe to you than WWE. So.
Oh my God! Yeah, I know. It sounds like it. I was gonna say maybe drop me and like get the network, but no, it's I've
no, I'm not going to do that. But it's funny because well, you do other things besides the wrestling. I mean, yeah, you got the other shows you do and stuff, and hopefully we can do one semi-regular.
Yeah, it should be every at least every month or whenever we can.
Yeah, because I got lots of stories. Wait till I get my baseball stories.
Oh, that's going to be good. We got to get Bailey on for that. I love that.
Could do that with him.
Yeah, we'll definitely we'll do a baseball one for sure, and more wrestling, baseball, whatever.
Yeah, because I've been to some remarkable games. Let's say.
Are you an Astros or a Texans?
Do what?
Are you a Rangers or a Astros or?
Well, I used to live about 10 minutes from Ranger Stadium. Of course, I'm further than that now.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I got to tell everybody where I am. But at any rate, I used to go to a lot of games when I was able to get around a lot better. And I went to a lot of games.
Did you see Nolan Ryan?
That's going to be one of the stories.
Yeah, I did all that.
I'll let you think about that one.
All that with my dad, wrestling and baseball and Star Trek was everything I did with my dad.
Oh, you want to get into Star Trek? I love that show.
Yeah, see?
And remember that I was around during the original one.
Yeah. Yep, that's what
I saw that one first run.
My dad would be like 77 now. 76 or something like that. So
then he saw the original one too.
Oh yeah. He was really
that
excited.
Came out in 67, I think.
I think so.
66, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I think it might have went off the air in 69, so I think 67, probably 66.
Yeah, that's about the time it came on, but I remember that one. And the funny thing was, I knew it wasn't the greatest in the world, but they had great stories, and the interplay between Spock, McCoy, and Kirk was great. I mean, the character play there was worth the show.
Well, that's another thing is like the chemistry. They just had really good chemistry on that show too. Like, and that's why my dad was excited when the new one was coming out or whatever. But it was completely, it seemed a lot different though, because even though I liked the original series, it was the Next Generation was a little bit different. But that's my favorite one now. But I think whatever one you saw first,
they had reasonable chemistry there too.
Oh yeah,
I'm a big fan of Deep Space Nine because I like the fact that it had a beginning, a continuity, and an ending. I mean, it was a long story.
Yeah,
and I thought it was an interesting show.
Yeah, I like every single Star Trek. I don't think there's one I don't like except for the new one, the Discovery one. I'm not really like that, but
I haven't seen that one yet.
It's weird. It's not it's like I don't think I could, like, my kids couldn't watch it. It's weird, but my kids couldn't watch it, and it's just, it's all about the action stuff, and that is a one that I will say though, if you like Deep Space Nine and the original series, the new Discovery show is like there's a shocking sort of thing that happens at the end of it, and it ties into other Star Trek stuff that's happened. So it's pretty cool.
Well, I might want to see that then.
It's pretty cool. I don't really like it still, and I think it's like it's definitely not. It doesn't seem like really Star Trek, but the thing is, it gets better as it goes along. The first season, I don't really like the second season at all, but the first season, it gets better as it goes along, and then there's this really sort of shocking thing that starts happening at the end, and it does relate to stuff you've seen in the original series, Star Trek Enterprise, and Deep Space Nine. So you'll see if you watch it, and it's. I said this, even though I don't really like Discovery that much, it's one of the most what's it called, shocking, or it's one of the biggest swerves I've ever seen in any show ever.
Huh.
At the end,
I may have to watch that one then.
Yeah, I think CBS Access is, you can get it on CBS Access or whatever, but that's like $9 a month. But it's
that doesn't fit into my budget. I'll have to figure another way, and I won't get into details.
If I get my login, I'll send you my login. Maybe you can log into mine. I think you can log in at 3 or something like that if you have it. So maybe you can use my login or something. I don't know.
Well, I have an alternate method.
Okay. Well, you'll find it. It's out there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'll find it.
But yeah, I guess I'll let me see where we at here. I'll wrap it up, and we'll tease that the next time we talk, it's probably going to be a little bit more about baseball, I guess.
Yeah, I can tell my Nolan Ryan story. And
JB can tell you how he wishes he lived in Boston.
I can get into some other stories on that one too.
Well, that's anything else that you wanted to mention before we go?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
All right. Well, I hope everything's going well.
This was fun.
Yeah, this is awesome.
And I hope to do it again.
Hell yeah. Arknolia Strokelbean and Joe Cronin, we will see you in episode 2. And anybody has any questions for the next time that we do this, just message me or leave it below. And we'll see you then.
Yeah, and it'll be either baseball, wrestling, or music.
Or all of them. Or all of those things.
Yeah, any of them.
Alrighty.
The club is calling. Cronin Club.